Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, last hour of the week here on the Hunt Palmer Show. It's wet Friday afternoon here in the capital city. Hope you all are being safe, staying dry a little bit. I just got a text from my wife who is sitting in the parking lot of the grocery store debating whether or not she's going to brave the rain to go in. It appears that may not happen, and I may be called upon to do that after my show to trudge through the rain. We'll see. We'll see how it's going to test the toughness on a Friday afternoon. If she has the guts to get out of the car, she's just going to call it a day, go home, and pin that on me. But I volunteered, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe an update as the hour goes along. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Preston Guy going to be with us in 15 minutes talking about the Tigers. So plenty to do here in our final hour of the week. Saints and Jags from the Dome, noon on Sunday. And there are things that I want to look at. Last week I told you that I was excited to watch the Saints. I was excited to learn some things in the preseason. My contention is, on a lot of good football teams with settled quarterback battles, preseason is pretty monotonous. If you are a grinder and you want to get into the 49th spot on the roster, the 50th spot on the roster, who's going to find that special teams niche or that reserve nickelback role? I love you, but I don't have that bone in my body. But the Saints aren't in that spot. The Saints have a lot of positions open. The Saints have a quarterback battle that is not settled. The Saints have some things to play for that aren't on the scoreboard. And that's fascinating. And I thought that while the game was a bit of a tough watch on Sunday against the Chargers, there was information there. And I think there will be information to come out of the Saints camp in the next 72 hours. You look at Sunday, how the game plays out, both what the performance looks like and in what order it comes with what unit. And I think you're going to find some information. And I have not ruled out at all that next Monday or Tuesday, Kellen Moore comes to the podium and says, hey, this is our starter. And if you made me guess right now who that starter would be, I would guess Spencer Rattler, but I would not feel convicted in my guess. It would be just that. I do think it's reasonable to deduce that Tyler Shuck will start the game on Sunday. That has not been announced. Kellen Moore is intentionally playing some cat and mouse there. He's not going to give the media or the fan base anything too salacious or anything to chew on there. He's just going to continue to give these guys some reps, to split them up rather equally, and see what the results are. When you consider what this game should look like, and this is another guess on my part, but it's fairly educated, I feel like Jacksonville's going to put some guys out there early. This is the game that you would play your starters for the longest period of time. For some organizations, that may be 2 drives. For some organizations, it may be 2 quarters. Who knows? Who knows what exactly they're going to do with this Jaguars unit on Sunday. But I think you're going to see the Saints put some starters out there on offense. I think Shuck will be with them, and I think you'll see Rattler try to operate with the 2s against some reserves for Jacksonville. That's my guess. And I think that really quality play from one of them, combined with maybe some mistakes from the other, could tip the scales significantly. I'll talk about this next week, but I'm just giving you a foreshadowing about what next week's going to sound like. I do not believe the Saints are in a position in the 3rd preseason game to send Jake Haener out there for 4 quarters. You can do that with Breeze. You can even do that with Derek Carr. When you are trying to identify your next franchise quarterback, those reps should not be wasted on a guy who's not going to be the franchise quarterback, and Jake Haener is not going to be the franchise quarterback. You want to play him in the 4th quarter next week? Fine. But Shook and Rattler should play. They should play. And they should play on Sunday. I think they will play on Sunday. That is the biggest storyline, and I would not sit here and bury that lead under any circumstance. But there are some things I want to see as well. Let's look at the secondary. If you listen to our interview that we did with Luke Johnson a little bit earlier today, he said that Julian Blackmon has had an interception in 3 consecutive days of training camp. Some of that against other opposition, one being the Rams. That's exciting. You're looking for help back there at safety. I think it's reasonable to suggest a month ago we thought, hey, Tyrann Mathieu is going to be back there with Justin Reed. But Blackman's come in. He's made a bunch of plays. You also have Jordan Howden, who's kind of been for his time in New Orleans. And you've got Jonas Sanker, who's made some plays. But I'm excited about Blackman, who potentially could be a difference maker on this team. And I'm going to be watching him. And I think you're going to get a chance to watch Quincy Riley play a good bit on Sunday. Alontae Taylor's dealing with that groin injury. He may not be. It's unlikely he's available for Sunday. So to me, there are some young guys that are going to be running around in that secondary that I would absolutely like to see play. Here's another guy I would kind of like to see play, although I'm not as confident he's going to get significant minutes. Chase Young. I loved the Chase Young signing last year. 1-year deal, fairly cheap, high upside, 26-year-old player, massive talent. What can you get out of him? And if you just go straight to the Football Reference page or just go straight to the Pro Football Focus page or just go straight to the stats page, there's not a ton of objective data on Chase Young to suggest he had a great year. But if you watch the tape and you go a little bit deeper into the advanced statistics, you realize that he won a lot in the pass rush. And I love the nugget that Luke gave us in the last hour about Chase Young saying, hey, he was unblockable against the Rams in that practice. And that's against starters for the Rams. Because that's encouraging. Always, I'm telling you, who could be on the next great Saints team? Chase Young could be on the next great Saints team. And I'd like to see some more of that domination in this setting. Again, for him, it's not nearly as big a deal as it is for the quarterbacks. While he's comparable in age to Tyler Shuck, their skins on the wall at the NFL level, a lot different. Chase Young's been at this a minute. He was in the 2020 draft. So I'm less than I need to see Chase Young dominate a preseason game. I'm just excited about the potential with him. Because all good teams have got dominant edge players, and the Saints may have struck a little bit of gold with the cheap prove-it deal with Chase Young, who appears to be kind of happy here. So I want to see what he's got. And then you start to look at some of the younger guys who played pretty well last week. You start to look at Brian Brzee. You start to look, as I mentioned, at Blackman. You would look at Quincy Riley. You would look at Jalen Ford. You would look at Danny Stutzman. You would look at those guys, even Christian Boyd, who had nice days against the Chargers. These guys are all really talented. Anyone can go out there with that talent level and have a really good preseason game. What about a second one? What about a third one? What about continuing to build on what you saw early in the preseason? That's exciting. Not because I think they need to be huge pieces to the Saints playoff push this year, because I think they need to prove themselves as building blocks. And if you're going to let Devon Godshaw have the day off for much of it, then I want to see Christian Boyd. And if you're going to tell Demario Davis, we don't need you today, which I don't think they do, I want to see Danny Stutzman. And if you're going to tell, Justin Reed to have a seat, well, I want to see Julian Blackman and Jonas Sanker. That's the exciting part of this. Not that they can fill out the end of the roster on a playoff team, which is what the preseason's usually for, but to kind of show that they've got a chance to break out and become something. Because this is the part of the season where we're most likely to see some of these draft picks take some steps forward. Because when you get to the regular season, the guys with the skins on the wall are going to do the majority of the playing, most likely. This is your look at some of the young players. I certainly wouldn't put, Fuaga and Banks in that conversation. They're going to play. I wouldn't put Brzee in that conversation. Obviously, he's going to play. But some of these guys are reserves. This is your chance to watch them. I think that's an exciting thing as you get ready to play the Jaguars in the Dome coming up on Sunday. So noon kickoff. Ross Jackson will be there for LouisianaSports.net. Can read his postgame stuff there, and we'll certainly react to it here on Monday. We'll be uploading all of that to Hunt on Saints as well. So look there at Saints and Jags coming up Sunday from the Dome. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, talking Tigers when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, let's talk some Tigers. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every Friday. Had to check in with Luke Johnson from the airport in the first hour. Preston, good enough to move back a little bit for us here on this Friday. How are you, sir?
Oh, Hunt, I'm doing better here. I'm out of parent-teacher conferences and into talking about sports, so I'm doing much better. Thank you for working on my timeline.
What are the what grade are we talking about here for parent-teacher conferences?
Oh, preschool.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So we don't have any significant issues in preschool.
No, we have a little bit of a potty issue. We're not quite 100% there yet, but no, it's just more of a, it's nothing a concern. It's just like let's meet the administrator and talk about where he's at after a first week in school. But,
Understood. Well, hope all is well there. Let's talk some football. I wanted to throw a really open-ended question at you to start our discussion. Like, have you been completely surprised by anything in camp? Anything that you were just dead wrong about that you thought 4 weeks ago?
Oh man, there's nothing that really stands out to me. I mean, it's stunningly gone to plan, and I would argue that's a good thing, except for one aspect: the offensive line. Now, the offensive line has been kind of holding its own, but not great, and I think that's more or less what we were expecting. I'm trying to think here. I mean, there's little things. Such as Destin Hill and the amount of time he's gotten. There's been a few things like how many players they've rotated in on defense, such as even guys like Keelan Moser has gotten some reps with the ones, and I found that very surprising. PJ Woodland looks really good at his corner spot. That caught me off guard a little bit, but I don't know that there's any major themes, because the major themes of fall camp have been, well, offense and defense are fairly evenly matched. Well, we all kind of expected them both to be pretty good units this year. Nussmeier is very, very, very good. I don't think anybody is shocked by that. Most of the themes have kind of lined up as expected.
LSU's safety play in 2025 will be blank.
Better. That's a safe response, isn't it? Better.
That is safe. Give me some thoughts on players and why you think that.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I mean, they're bringing back a lot of the guys they had last year. Taviano, they're bringing back Deshaun Spears, Jordan Gilbert. All those guys are back, right? Obviously, you lose Sage Ryan, and you replace him with Tamarcus Cooley and A.J. Halsey. And right now, it's looking like Halsey and Cooley will be the starters. So the fact that you got a lot of your same bodies from last year who would be back there, and then you've got new faces in, and those new faces are beating out your old faces. I mean, that's good. Not to mention, on the defense, I'd probably have the least faith in safety of all the positions, but your cornerback room is looking very good. And ultimately, I believe if it does come down to it and you do see more struggles at safety, you've got bodies at corner that you can move back there. I mean, Mansour Delane is having an excellent fall camp. He looks really good. A dude can tackle. He can lower his shoulder. He could play safety. I mean, a lot of these guys I could see moving around and going out there. So, Ashton Stamps is a starter, but also your second-team corners, those look really good right now. You've got Pickett looking really good, although he's been beaten by Chris Hilton a good bit, but he's still looking pretty good and making some plays out there. We saw an interception LSU posted yesterday. PJ Woodland, very good fall camp. So between the safeties and corners room, Hunt, I really do have a lot of faith and confidence that they're going to be able to put 4 or 5 good DBs on the field. Whether or not he's listed on the roster with a CB or an S next to his name, I don't know if that matters quite as much as I think they'll be able to put 4 or 5 guys who can play ball back there.
Would you have had West Weeks ahead of Devon Keys a month ago?
No, I wouldn't have. But, it certainly seems to be looking out. And I think a theme that we're seeing for fall camp is they're going to rotate bodies in and out. Okay, I mean, unless you are – Whit Weeks might be the one who is just irreplaceable on the field. You can't tell me West and Whit don't have, chemistry with one another. Yeah. They certainly know how to communicate and play next to each other. And there's a handful of positions on the football field where you just really need that chemistry. Wide receiver, quarterback. I'd argue your offensive linemen particularly the ones playing next to each other, need to have great communication, and linebacker certainly one of those.
Wide receiver is interesting because of the amount of bodies they have that have looked really, really good. Xavier Thomas had another really good day today out at practice. Do you think he factors in at wide receiver?
No, I mean, certainly as utility player. I mean, he's a gadget gizmo guy if there ever was one. I mean, you're going to use him in bubble screens. You're going to use him on RPO type plays. You're going to even line him up probably a couple reps at running back for gadget plays. So yeah, no, I don't think Xavier Thomas, barring injury, okay, I don't think he's got 1,000-yard season loaded up for him, but, I mean, he's going to play. But so is Aaron Anderson, so is Chris Hilton, so is Nick Anderson, so is Barry Brown, and frankly, Kyle Parker's looked really good. And then you got to think, okay, if Xavier Thomas is out, I mean, you got to think that Jelani Watkins, I mean, look, as a downfield receiver, he needs to develop. His hands aren't where they need to be, and his route running isn't as crisp as it needs to be. But you got to figure out, I mean, on a quick little bubble route or jet sweep, Jelani Watkins is one of the fastest players in America. Again, we can just talk all day about guys who have potential on this roster. I legitimately see 5 or 6 guys who, if it weren't for the other players on this roster, I could see why they could be 1,000-yard receivers.
Jelani Watkins made maybe the catch of today, ran right by Aiden Anding on a ball that looked to be overthrown. He put the Jets on and scooped it up off his knee tops on the way into the end zone. It was a heck of a play and showed that world-class speed, literally, that he has. Do you have a pick to lead LSU in receiving yards this year?
Yeah, I feel like that's just a losing premise, no matter which direction I go. But I'll say Chris Hilton. I think what's the expression? You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 years in a row, shame on me.
Yep.
I'm gonna still bet on the losing side of that, I guess. I think this is the year Chris Hilton turns it around, stays healthy, and shows out. He looks like a complete receiver. He is very fast. There's people have said he's just as fast as Barry and Brown and Jelani Watkins, and that's world-class speed we're talking about. So he looks good in practice. Wasn't out there today. He graduated, so good for him. But I think the fact that coaches are using him as a representative of the program, sending him to SEC Media Days, it shows maturity and all that. Yeah, it could be him, but I would not bet a ton of money because it could also be Aaron Anderson. It could also be Barry and Brown. I mean, it could go a lot of different ways. I think they're going to spread the ball quite a bit.
What do you make of the continued rotation of Paul Mabenga and DJ Chester at left guard?
Oh, man, a little unfortunate that, you would hope that DJ Chester would have had a better grasp on that position, particularly he's roommates with Tyree Adams, so there's a lot of chemistry there. Okay, also the talk is that, well, he had a rough year at center, but he's not a true center. He was playing out of position. This should be more comfortable, so he should be a better player. We're talking about a highly recruited guy, top 100 overall player. Little unfortunate to see that, he's still battling it out with a younger guy like Paul Mabenga. So, and ultimately, that left guard spot the truth is it isn't looking good. And neither one of the true freshmen that are coming in are looking like they're going to compete with time. You got Solomon Thomas on a bike and Carius Kern, who we all had eyes on both those guys at the guard spot. Both of them are, Carius Kern's had a lot of discipline issues, like a lot of offsides, holding balls we've seen on him. He's just looking like an 18-year-old learning how to play college football out there. So, I'd be lying to you if I won't have my eye on that particular position to see how it goes.
Who would you take to gain more yards on the ground this year, Caleb Jackson or Juwan Johnson?
The interesting question would have been touchdowns here. I'll go Caleb Jackson. I think he's going to be, if they need a true running back, he'll be the one to get the first nod. And he's had some moments here in practice. I still think he's a little too big. And I think that, ultimately, I think Aiden Durham is going to be your number one back that you're looking to in a lot of situations. And I think Caleb Jackson, I think he's still going to get a crack to be used situationally, like goal line, short yardage, that type stuff, and see what they can make of him. I would like to see Trey Holly, of course, he's had his moments and flashes. I'm sorry, I'm saying Trey Holly, the freshman kid from New
JT
Orleans.
Lindsey. Harlan Berry.
No. Yeah, we're naming every other running back except
Yes.
for Harlan Berry. Boy, I hope his dad isn't listening to Trey Lindsey here. Anyways, I would like to see Harlan Berry look a little less freshman-esque out there. Of course, we saw him just get blown up by Tylen Singleton and fumble the ball. We've seen a drop here and there. But I would, in an ideal world, I would love to see him iron out those little freshman issues. And by game one, he's your number 2 back, because I think he's your number he might be number 1 in terms of pure talent, but I think in terms of potential this year, he's your best number 2 option behind Caden Durham.
What do you think a realistic expectation for Harlan Berry is in September? You got 2 huge games in September against Clemson and Florida. Like, how much can they use him? In what ways can they use him?
Well, historically, Frank Wilson, though, in these big early game matchups doesn't give nods to true freshmen very often. And that's been a long time. This is not just this stretch of tenure at LSU. It dates back a while back there, even Leonard Fournette, So, I think a realistic expectation is, let's see, you got a couple gimme games in September. I mean, let's see, it probably won't get much going against Clemson unless there's something surprising going on there. And then in some of these gimme games, show me some flashes, show me that you're ready to play and can make plays, and then ease your way into, a spell back type role where you're either on the field next to Caden Durham or giving him his first break. That's what I would like to see as a realistic expectation. And
they all are up and running over there at Tiger Bait with camp in full swing, and you're live every Monday. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, Tiger Bait YouTube channel. You can catch me every Monday night at 8 p.m. with Zach Nagy over there. We'll also be doing our post-game show. And, of course, right now we're pumping out practice reports, which are just wildly popular, and all sorts of good stuff going on. We got all our press conferences being uploaded. So, yeah, y'all check us out, tigerbait.com, LSU Tigers on Tiger Bait on YouTube, and we'll get you squared away, guys.
Have a good weekend. Week 0 next week. We'll talk then, Preston.
All right. See you then.
Preston Guy, tigerbait.com. Appreciate him giving us a little time on this Friday, being a little bit flexible here. We moved Luke back from his Thursday slot to a Friday slot, moved Preston back from his Friday into the second hour. But we're off and running here on this Friday. For you, those that were listening 15 minutes ago with the update from the grocery store, my wife braved the elements. Alyssa got out of the car, went through the rain, and got the grocery shopping done. So now I don't have to do that when we finish the show. Incredible performance from her. Primetime players, primetime plays, primetime games. It's a heck of a job by her. But if you're out there and about, don't get out because it's raining. Hopefully you are staying dry, staying safe, and we appreciate you locking us in here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. When we come back, I have a piece up on LouisianaSports.net talking about freshmen and playing time. I feel like at this point we've seen enough rotation, seen enough 11-on-11, seen enough action. I kind of have a feel for what freshmen are going to see the field early and often, what freshmen could see their way to the field, and what freshmen are probably well down the list and may not be in line for much action this fall. I'll get into that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp, corksfishandshrimp.com. If you're looking to cater, feed the office, lunch and learn, high school football, mass feedings, doing a tailgate, birthday parties, whatever the case may be, Corks is always a great catering option. They got the big trays, the jumbo Gulf shrimp, crispy fried catfish, shoestring fries, honey butter rolls, all the coleslaw and hush puppies you need. Just fantastic stuff. I get really hungry when I sit in the studio on Fridays and I look at those panels with all the Cork seafood on it. It looks phenomenal. I want some very badly. It's awesome. You can get some. Government between Foster and Jefferson. Check out that menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. All right, let's talk freshmen. What freshmen are going to play? This has been an evolving thing over decades in college football. There was a time where the freshmen weren't even on the varsity team. And then you had a time in the nearer past where freshmen generally redshirted, like Alan Faneca redshirted here. And you can fast forward another 20 years and Michael Brockers in 2009, redshirted here. And then, as a redshirt freshman, he played in 2010. As a redshirt sophomore, he was a star in 2011, and he left. And LSU looked at this and goes, well, wait a second. We signed this 4-star kid. We redshirted him 1 year, and then he came back, and he was only here for 2 years, and he left. We didn't get enough out of him, so we're not going to do that. We're going to play freshmen. And there was a time there where a lot of freshmen played. And then COVID hit. And you had a bunch of like 60-year college players. And oh, by the way, not only are there 60-year college players, these 6-year college players can transfer wherever they want. So if you lost someone unexpectedly to the NFL draft, or someone did get like hurt or wasn't or transferred out, like, oh, we can just fill that spot with a 23-year-old instead of an 18-year-old. Seems like the prudent thing to do. And that's kind of where we are right now. You're in an era right now where true freshmen just don't play a lot. There are some. You look at the high-profile cases around the country, and Ryan Williams in Tuscaloosa, Jeremiah Smith and Columbia. Like, yeah, those are freaks, and they can play. And you look at LSU last year, and like Caden Durham burst on the scene. He wasn't an early enrollee, but he was ready to go. And it happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen a lot because you generally play old players. I mean, you can just look at LSU's lineup this year and what we think they're going to throw out there. Nussmeier's a 5th-year player. Braylon Moore, 4th-year player. Josh Thompson, 5th-year player. Look outside. Chris Hilton, 5th-year player. Varian Brown, 4th-year player. Aaron Anderson, 4th-year player. Destin Hill, 4th-year player. Xavion Thomas, 4th-year player. Go to the other side of the ball. Jacobian Guillory, 6th-year player. Jack Pyburn, 4th-year player. Look at Bernard Gooden, 4th-year player. Whit Weeks, 3rd year. Harold Perkins, 4th year. Mansour Delane, 4th year. Ashton Stamps, 3rd year. You get the picture. Jordan Gilbert, 4th year. Like, it's old dudes. There's not a lot of young players. Like, Weston Davis is young. Tyree Adams is in his 3rd year. DJ Chester's in his 3rd year. It's just not a lot of young guys. And I don't anticipate a huge number of young guys playing for this team. I think as I look at it, to me, I see 2 freshmen that I expect to play big roles early in the season and throughout the season. You can probably guess those 2. They were 5-star recruits. It's Harlem Berry in a depleted running back room, and it's DJ Pickett, who's a potential star. Those 2 true freshmen, I believe, will play early and often, and I think that's it. You look back at the signing class, 23 guys. I think 2 of them are mega impact players. And I don't even know what Harlem Berry's impact is going to be. If you told me he ran for 720 yards and 7 touchdowns, I'd believe it. If you told me he ran for 180 yards and 1 touchdown, I'd believe that too. The second part would stand to reason that Caden Durham got 80% of the carries. Caleb Jackson emerged as a 3rd-year player and was very serviceable, and Berry just wasn't counted on that much. I would get that, but he's going to play. And Pickett's going to play too. I don't know where or when. I don't know if they're going to put him out there immediately against Clemson or not. But he's going to play. And I think that's it. But you look at those that I think are knocking on the door, that maybe not against Clemson, maybe not against Florida. By the time you play Texas A&M, by the time you play Alabama, maybe. And I would point there to Carius Kern, who, again, is not, we talked about this at the end of the first hour, not knocking down the door right now, knocking on the door. But the way that Carius Kern gets to the field probably has less to do with the way that Carius Kern develops and more to do with the fact that LSU's offensive line buckles. What did we see against Florida State 3 years ago? They could not block. Couldn't block. So Brian Kelly and Brad Davis looked at it and goes, okay, Emory Jones, you got to play. Because it wasn't because Emory Jones just started dominating as on the scout team at practice. It was because the guys in front of him on the offensive line failed. Could not block. So they made some drastic changes. And if that happens, I think Carius Kern's number could be called. Now, there's 2 others on this list that I think their physical skill set could find its way to the field, especially if there's an injury here or there. And that's Charles Ross at linebacker and CJ Jim Coley at star or linebacker. There are players in front of them. I know that. But I know that the staff really likes these two guys. And I believe strongly that both of them will play special teams early on. Ross is 220 plus pounds and has high school track speed. He can run and tackle. He's going to play on special teams, and he'll play against Louisiana Tech and Southeastern. And I think you'll notice him. The staff really likes him. He's an early enrollee, and I think you'll like him. CJ Jim Coley is huge. We talked about him and Meet the Freshman yesterday. He is 6'3", he is 220, and he can run. Now, he's not going to beat Harold Perkins out at star. But I do think that if Perkins were to go down for some reason, or if they were looking for a different look, meaning you're talking about Jim Coley's 6'3" and is probably going to be 230 pounds by the time this season's over. That's 15 pounds bigger than Harold Perkins. And maybe there's a spot for him in a different game where there's not as much space, but there's more stuff between the boxes. Again, this is down the line. I'm not at all suggesting that CJ Jim Coley is going to beat Harold Perkins out. Please do not misunderstand me. But he's playing a lot with the second team, and physically I like his skill set, and I think he's going to play special teams. I think there is a potential for Jim Coley to get on the field more quickly than a lot of his freshman cohorts, especially on special teams. And then behind that, I honestly don't think you're going to see a lot of guys in the freshman class play a lot. I don't think you're going to see like Phillip Wright play wide receiver with 7 guys in front of him. I don't think you're going to get Solomon Thomas to the field. I don't think the other linebackers are going to beat out Jim Coley and Ross. That's Zach Weeks. That's Keelan Moses. That's Jaden Breaker. Like those guys I think are going to be reserves that potentially could redshirt. I don't think Aiden Anding cracks the starting lineup. Now I feel like JT Lindsay is way behind the 8 ball. JD LaFleur is very much 4th on that list at tight end. Like you get the point. I don't have to name every player in the class. But to me, there are 2 surefires. There are 3 guys kind of knocking on the door, and then kind of the rest of the class we'll see. Would it stun me if Jacob Bradford or Keelan Moses was on the kickoff team? No, it would not. They run well and they can tackle. Zach Weeks, same way. But as you're looking for major impact, it's really only 2 or 3. And to me, that is a good thing about this team. That's not at all an indictment on the freshman class. What it is a team that went to the transfer portal and got a bunch of 22-year-olds. And I just listed like the entire starting lineup. A lot of them are transfers, and they're old, and they're going to play. It's a team that doesn't have to lean on freshmen. I don't want to lean on freshmen at defensive tackle. I don't want to lean on freshmen at offensive line. I don't want to lean on freshmen having to cover too much. Pickett's a special case. He's a Stingley. He's a Peterson. He's a Tre'Davious White. And that is, to me, a healthy part of this. Now, you look at after this year, when almost all that lineup on both sides of the ball is gone, yeah, this class is going to have to step up in a big way. But they get to spend this fall learning, practicing, experiencing things on game day, learning from the guys in front of them, experiencing coaching, putting weight on, and those guys are going to have to be big for LSU next year. They'll still go back to the portal, they'll go shop, and they'll get some guys, but Brian Kelly recruits high school guys for a reason, and that's to grow up quickly, and by the time you're a sophomore, be ready to rock and roll. And I think these guys probably will, vast majority of them. All right, that's a look at LSU football. Always want to remind you, Hunt on LSU is where you can find our LSU content. It's on YouTube. It's wherever you find your podcasts. It's short 10, 12-minute segments. If you're just looking for your LSU content, you don't necessarily care too much about the black and gold, check out Hunt on Saints. If you're a Saints fan and you don't really care that much about LSU, Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcast. Appreciate y'all for hanging out with us on this Friday. We're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We got one segment to go. We will come back and wrap things up for the week on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety, safety, safety. It's a big deal. And the bathroom can be a very hazardous place, especially as folks age. If you have someone in your life that wants to stay at home, but you feel like the bathroom might be a hazardous spot, you can't eliminate that risk. You can mitigate against it. Put in non-slip floors. Put in walk-in shower. Put in a walk-in tub. Put in a shower that has a bench. All of these are things that David Duvall and his team do all the time, and they're happy to help you with it. Have that free consultation. That part doesn't cost you anything. Have David share his 30 years of experience with you. Say, this is what we generally do. This is how long it takes. This is what it costs. Think financing, they got it available. 0% up to 18 months, same as cash. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find pictures of their great work and reviews from their satisfied customers online at onebathandclosets.com. That's onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
I just chuckled to myself scrolling through my Twitter feed in the break. John Neighbors, who covers Arkansas for Inside Arkansas, he was on After Further View earlier this week talking about the Hogs. His thumbnail for his show today on the internet was, "Should Arkansas cheat for a championship?" Which is clearly a reference to Michigan using Connor Stallions to spy on folks and winning a national championship and then getting punished for it. And I think that John probably had some fun in that segment. It probably wasn't too literal, but I'm just thinking about Arkansas fans going, well, hell, we'll just go find their signals and we'll cheat and we'll win the national championship. I'm like, well, probably not, because you don't have very good players. And Michigan has a lot of good players that have been drafted in the NFL and had one of the best defenses in the last 10 years on that title team. But I get it. I think it's a good segment. We're still in the dog days of talking season here. Don't have any games to talk about. I dig it, but I would be lying if I said I read that and did not laugh at the thought that Arkansas could just go cheat their way to a title. Hogs, Coach Pittman, just getting their hands dirty, getting a championship. I don't know if that's in the cards for them. Before we get to take it or leave it, Jordan, Saints, Jaguars, Sunday, anything you're looking for whatsoever, anything that interests you at all?
Definitely the receiver core.
Okay.
Just to see.
I don't even know who's playing. Is Olave and Shaheed playing? Means is out for the year.
Maybe you give them a drive here and there, but at this point, man, everybody's just glass. So, I just want to see maybe somebody maybe emerge in a sense. See if Mason Tipton can keep building on. So definitely, I want to see if we have any receivers at this point. Foskey, maybe, is he, you play 4 quarters of football and don't record a stat.
He's done.
Yeah, me and Taylor was talking about it earlier.
He's done.
It's a little bit more impressive that you played 4 quarters of football and didn't get on the stat sheet like that. It seems like it seems harder to do than actually get on the stat sheet.
It's a tough scene.
Very tough.
That's
tough.
over. Do you think that the Saints will name a quarterback on Monday?
Let's see how the game looks. Like, if I hate to say it, but, Rattler comes out there, throws a couple bombs. It's like, well, he's QB1. Shuck comes out there, Rattler, like he did. You got to pull him out the game. Shuck comes in, throws a bomb or something like that. I think everything's going to play itself out this game, but I just really, 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 really need to see who is going to be catching the ball this year.
We'll see. Let's play some Take It or Leave It.
Gotcha.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
The weekend is here. Flight by Yingling needs to be the first thing you pick up on the way home. It is the next generation of light beer. Just got 95 calories, 2.6 carbs, but it does pack that delicious beer flavor. If you haven't given Flight by Yingling a try, just highly recommend it. It's great for on the grill, great for on the golf course, great for on the lake or the pool. Built for these Louisiana warm summers. It's the next generation of light beer. Flight by Yingling.
All right, let's start it off with Bleacher Report made a list of one player to cut from each NFL team. And for the New Orleans Saints, they picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Should the Saints cut Clyde, take it or leave it?
I'll leave it. I think that Clyde is really good in pass protection.
Yep.
He is, and Kellen Moore talked about that this week. He's a veteran. Like, I'm still so up in the air and non-committal on Kendre Miller.
Yep.
I don't feel like the Cam Akers ceiling is very high. And then Devin Neal obviously gets hurt, and that's a big deal. But I don't think he's a cut material at this point. Do I think Clyde's going to run for 1,000 yards this year? I do not. Do I think he's got some value in the organization? I do.
Yeah, their reasoning was it was a crowded room. Like they said, Velus Jones and Kendre, Camaro. But at the same time, how was he the one player they want to cut and not Foskey? That just shows you they're not really watching the Saints. I just had to get that in there. There's no way they're actually watching the Saints if they pick Clyde over Foskey to be the one player cut. But let's keep it going. So some more hypocrisy going on. The NFL Top 100 list, voted on by the players, matter of fact, has Micah Parsons ranked as the 36th best player in the NFL. Is there 35 players you would take over Micah Parsons right now? Take it or leave it?
I'll leave it. I don't want to go through the exercise of guys that I would take above Parsons, but I wouldn't get to 34.
Thank you.
That's a little ridiculous. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and even try to suggest that I'm turning on the all-22 film of every team in the league and breaking down who's what, but Parsons is a pretty terrifying dude to block. He makes a lot of plays in the backfield and tackles. I just have a very, very difficult time determining that there are that many guys better than him. I wonder what the beef is with the players in the league that do that. I mean, they do this in the NBA every year, and the same guys get thought of as being overrated, and that's a little jarring, though. I had not seen that.
Very jarring. Matter of fact, the number 37, Travis Kelce. So Parsons 36.
And Parsons, Kelce's done. Kelce can't run anymore. He's got a great quarterback, and he can sit down in the middle of the zone and catch a pass for 8 yards, but he can't play like he used to. To put those two on the same level is preposterous. So yeah, that's a little bit much for me.
All right, I just had to see where your mind was at. 'Cause I'm like, there's just no way possible you have Michael Parsons 36. Can't do that.
That all we got?
That's all we got.
Awesome. That's it for Take It or Leave It, brought to you by Flight by Yingling. I'm sitting here grinding this Cubs game with the Pirates. Surprise, surprise. The Cubs have one run today, which is just not shocking the way that they're playing these days. Big bummer. But our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Get on by Foster, government between Foster and Jefferson. Get your big old shrimp po' boy to start the weekend off. Always a great option, and we appreciate them for making our Friday shows possible. I will tell you, we have not gotten information from LSU on what the next week looks like. There have been plenty of years in the past where our access has been cut off 2 weeks to game time. They really get into game planning, start doing some Clemson-specific things. They don't necessarily need that plastered on the internet, and that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen, but this has been as much access as we've ever gotten, so maybe we'll be out there tomorrow watching, maybe we won't. I'm not sure. Today was the last day we got via the email, so we'll see. Either way, we'll be talking some LSU coming up on Monday. Starting Monday, we're into week 0. I know that excites some people a ton. Some people will roll their eyes at week 0, but it's still here. However you feel about it, it's still here, so that's an exciting deal. I'm excited to watch the Saints on Sunday and kind of talk about that on Monday's show as well. So we'll have plenty to do on Monday. If you missed today's show, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. My practice report from today, first of all, is up at LouisianaSports.net if you want to read it. Also, you can check out the first segment from today at Hunt on LSU. My thoughts on basically a big glorified walkthrough for the Tigers today. Luke Johnson joined us from the Denver airport, coming back from California. Lots of great information on the Saints, what they got done in California, what he expects to see on Sunday. So you can check that out at Hunt on Saints. We met the freshmen, the last two, Solomon Thomas and Carius Curran, what I kind of think those guys' years may look like. Open Hour 2, what I'm looking for, Saints Jags. You can find that at Hunt on Saints. Preston Guy, TigerBait.com with the 2:15. You can find that at Hunt on LSU. That's it for us here on this Friday. Matt is about to drive you home on After Further Review. Stay dry out there. Stay safe out there. Have a wonderful weekend. We're back on Monday, same time, same place, for a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Hunt Palmer Show.